Let's review the light-dependent reactions. Like the name implies, these reactions require light to occur. This reaction also occurs in the thylakoids, which are photosynthetic discs found within the chloroplast. Now, the whole main goal of the light-dependent reactions is to produce ATP and NADPH for the next reaction, which is called the Calvin cycle. Let's take a closer look at what actually happens in the light-dependent reactions. The first thing that happens is the splitting of water. This occurs at the membrane protein known as photosystem II. After water splits, it's going to donate its electrons to the photosystem. Oxygen is also going to be produced at this step. However, we need 2 molecules of water to make 1 molecule of oxygen. The water is also going to donate its hydrogen ions to the lumen within the thylakoids. The donation of these hydrogen ions are going to create this concentration gradient we're going to use for ATP production. Light is going to be absorbed by the pigments within photosystem II. That light energy is going to be transferred to the electrons donated by the splitting of water. These electrons are going to become energized, and they're going to start to move down the electron transport chain. I don't have my students memorize these specific proteins, but these proteins are involved in the electron transport chain. These membrane proteins will also use the energy from the high energy electrons to move more hydrogen ions from the stroma into the lumen. By pumping more hydrogen ions into the lumen, we're creating a higher concentration of hydrogen ions here in the lumen compared to the stroma. At photosystem I, the electrons are going to be re-energized by more light being absorbed by pigments. So photosystem I and photosystem II are very similar. However, water is not going to break down at photosystem I. That only occurs at photosystem II. After the electrons are re-energized at photosystem I, they're going to be transferred to a molecule known as NADP. NADP is going to bind with a hydrogen ion to become NADPH. NADPH is going to be one of our main products of this reaction. NADPH is going to go to the Calvin cycle next. NADPH is also the final electron acceptor within this process. We're not done yet. This is a thylakoid. The lumen inside the thylakoid is going to act like a reservoir for those hydrogen ions. Remember that hydrogen ions are basically just protons. Since there is a higher concentration of hydrogen ions here in the lumen compared with here in the stroma, they're going to want to move from areas of high concentration to low concentration. And they do this through this membrane protein known as ATP synthase. Like the name implies, ATP synthase makes ATP. This enzyme will do this by the movement of the hydrogen ions. It will actually spin, forcing a phosphate group onto a DP, making it ATP. This ATP is a main product of the light-dependent reactions and will go on to the Calvin cycle. The light-dependent reactions occur first to power the Calvin cycle, because the high-energy molecules ATP and NADPH are needed for the Calvin cycle to occur.